VIBErations Podcast Part 1, In the Beginning. Hi, I'm Gary Brightman and this is my weekly podcast, pronounced VIBErations but spelt VIBErations. Well, after all, there will only be one a week. Vibe is a book and music shop situated on Lantau Island in Hong Kong. We've been up and running now for over 2 years and like to think we support the local community in some small way. We believe in green issues and saving our planet for future generations, be they alien or otherwise. We believe in supporting local creatives, including authors, musicians, artisans, pet rescue, and people who make things out of recycled materials. So we like people who recycle, and that's why we sell pre-loved books, vinyl, CDs, DVDs, jigsaw puzzles, and anything else you no longer have room for. After all, you know what they say, one person's trash is another person's treasure. The programme will be served up to you like a sandwich from Subway every Thursday. The 15cm bread equating to the 15-minute programme length and encasing its content. There will be a book section. Maybe that's the cheese square we melt on top. There will be a music section. Maybe that's the filling. Sometimes a bit fishy and other times more meaty. A brief interview with someone who knows their onions. A shout out for local Lantau businesses. Do you want to upgrade that to a meal deal? And finally, what's happening at the shop? This could be a bit saucy. Thanks to my good mate Dil Speakman for getting me started on the well-trodden road of podcast obscurity and maybe even Vibe Radio one day, and I hope you'll like the programme. I'd like to start with a competition to maybe gain your interest and favour. I'd like you to create a logo for VIBErations Podcast. It would be a derivative of the existing Vibe logo, i.e. would encompass the Vibe logo. If you're interested to try your hand at this, please contact me at email vibehk@icloud.com. I will send you the logo and give you until the 3rd of October to submit your design. The winning design will receive a $500 voucher to spend on non-concessionary goods in the shop, or if the person resides outside of Hong Kong, then the monetary equivalent of $500. Wahoo! I designed the original Vibe logo, and so I'll enter the competition with my design also. But you have to trust me that I won't be biased. So let's start with a little background on how an English guy comes to own a bookshop in Hong Kong. After a long career in information technology and banking in London, and then finally in Hong Kong, I decided to give it all up for a major life change. I'd always wanted to be more creative in my life, but a high-pressured career in IT and banking didn't allow for this thinking time. So after I was made redundant in 2013 from Nomura in Hong Kong, as they restructured back to Tokyo in the Asia region, I decided it was time for a change. I learnt how to structure and write TV and film scripts, and after being commissioned to write a children's film set in Hong Kong and China, I decided to go to film school to learn this trade properly. I'd always had both photographic and video cameras coupled with a love of music, as my dad did also. In his day he was a great photographer and also used cine cameras. Graduating from Hong Kong-based film school 18 months later in 2015, I started to make documentaries and then sci-fi series called Transformed. Things were looking good, but I needed something sustainable to keep me ticking over. I didn't want to spend every day and night making films or documentaries either. I needed some balance in my life. That opportunity popped up in early 2018 when my local antiquarian bookshop called Imprint Books in Silvermine Bay, Moi Wo, on Lantau Island, came up for sale. I knew its owner, and my wife urged me to go for it. And so, in May 2018, Vibe Book and Music Shop was born. A different gig to its predecessor, I stocked more mainstream books, paperbacks, books in Chinese and French language. I didn't want to be known as an English bookshop only. I wanted to appeal to everyone. I added a turntable and music section and started selling vinyl from old style vinyl racks I had custom made. I accepted anyone who came to me to sell their books, music or products on a concessionary basis, and incidentally this number now stands at a massive 50. On Saturday afternoons in the shop I offered them a platform to present their wares, and with a good mate we started to Facebook Live these presentations. The last one was internationally renowned author Paul French, who has now become a good friend. And 2.5 years later, here we are, part of the Moiwo Vibe. I named the shop Vibe, with a desire to keep it short and sweet and memorable, but also, after the Oxford Dictionary definition, the mood or character of a place, situation or piece of music. We'll talk more about Vibe's creation and day-to-day life in future episodes. For the book section of this podcast, I want to tell you what I've been reading lately. I'm a fairly slow reader, so I'll talk about previously read books in other podcasts. I've read most of the books that I sell on concession from Hong Kong-based authors. I have to. They actually make me. I've just read The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I firmly hope that it's true and would recommend it to anyone for a quick, enjoyable read. I liked his style, and I've already started to read Tuesdays with Morrie, his prequel book to this one. Our book of the year so far at Vibe is A Small Band of Men by Les Bird, an ex-Marine police commander during the colonial era in Hong Kong. It paints a very vivid picture of life in the Marine police at the time and is full of anecdotes and humour, interlaced with a very touching humane side of dealing with hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese boat people's influx into Hong Kong during the Civil War there. Les has already given one presentation at Vibe and is slated for another one as soon as it's safe in Hong Kong to have a larger gathering than 2 people. On to the music section. Our good friend and Lantau Island resident Pete Millward's Celestial have a new release out. When you have a mate or acquaintance and they are creative, sometimes you have to lie about your feelings towards their work, especially if it's bloody awful. And they can't see that because it's their baby. And you can't tell them that because, well, maybe you're too English. You start to decline their offers of occasional drinks after work, parties, and then any social gatherings with them whatsoever, each time coming up with different plausible excuses. Oh, when will it ever end? However, I'm pleased to say that with Pete's musical offerings through both Celestial and Hong Kong Dub Station, I don't have to lie. It's genuinely good, innovative stuff. Celestial were conceived by Pete, but also features a host of great musicians from Hong Kong and across Asia. The first Celestial tracks were released in 1992, and although they predated the concept of chill out or down tempo music by several years, the idea for Celestial was born, a laid-back mix of Asian sounds over an imperial electronic dubscape. Pete, who produces, arranges, mixes, plays guitar, bass, melodica and keyboards, plus programming and various other bits of audio manipulation, is a long-time Hong Kong resident, and with his musical roots in the punk and dub reggae of the 1970s, indeed the term dub, as referred to here, has more in common with masters such as Dennis Boville and Lee Scratch Perry than with modern electronica. So just what is Pete's genre? Asia dub, chill, reggae, down-tempo music? Hard to totally pin it down, which is way too long for me to make a label for, so you'll have to come to the shop to find out where I stick it. His latest CD is called Albatross, and it contains some of the older tracks revamped as well as some excellent new ones. Right from the James Bond-esque track Feeling Fine, through The Party's Over, to the upbeat down-tempo It's a Disaster. This really is a great album, shades of Radiohead. All I can say is buy it while stocks last.
I'm feeling fine, I'm alive, much better than before. Feel the wind and the rain, hear the waves crash on the shore. of 1,000 unlaid plans, a million different pathways, all leading to the promised land. Feeling fine, I'm feeling fine, and I know, you know just how I feel. All the sticks and the stones, the scars that never heal.
On to what's happening at the shop. So our last gig was our second anniversary back in early June, during a small window of opportunity between the second and third waves of COVID-19 in Hong Kong. Andy Tate's The Mutineers rock the house and can be seen on our website on the video wall, along with the other Vibe music and video productions, on our website at www.vibehk.com. I had an interview with Steve Hackman from his podcast series Beyond the Pale in May, and we recorded Hong Kong's own ska band, the Red Stripes, at RTHK for Hong Kong Sa Day. All very good, I hear you say, but that's all in the past, so when will we start up again? For now, we're being responsible and keeping low key, but we're optimists. Better times will be back, and you'll be the first to know. This week's shout out to Lantau businesses goes to Leader Key Wine Merchants, located in central Moi Wo in front of the Cook Food Market, a short walk from the ferry pier. This wine shop delivers amazing value wines at every price point. Run by locals Sol and Bess, they will deliver orders to you if you spend over $800. Bess also makes hats and sells all types of bags, from handbags for your glad rags to beach bags. You can find them on Facebook at Leader Key. So if you want wine, better call Sol. In future weeks we'll interview Sol and Bess for this podcast. And finally, when the C-19 restrictions abate, we'll start up our Saturday events at Vibe again. The following are waiting to entertain you. Author Neville Cerrone, who served with the 7th Gurkha Rifles and is a member of the Hong Kong Bar, will be talking about his books. Classical viola and ex-violinist with the LSO, Jeremy Williams, now teaching at Wah Yan School and conducting the Yu Chung International School Orchestra, will be at Vibe to both play and give a talk. Author Les Bird will be talking about Di-Fis, the high-speed smugglers' boats. And maybe another visit from Andy Tate and the Mutineers. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the first ever Vibe book and music podcast called VIBErations. I'm Gary Brightman. You get my vibe?
Can you imagine what this old island must have looked like to those Dutch sailors when they first saw it? Fresh green. Like a dream of a new world.
They must have held their breath, afraid it would disappear before they could touch it.